Hey everyone, Jennifer Spohr here, and if anyone is on, please let me know you're here and say hello. We're going to go ahead and wait a few seconds to see who all joins before we get started. Be sure to say hello if you're here watching today, and if you're listening to the replay, please be sure to say hello as well. For those of you who may be listening to me for the first time, my name is Jennifer Spohr, and I support leaders who are visionaries and who are ready to step into new levels of potential in fulfilling their purpose and their mission. And today I am actually here to share with you a very special reading. I guess I should probably start at the beginning, right? So the reason why I'm having this live video today is that recently I had the honor of contributing as a co-author to the book Sacred Redesign, which is a compilation of many authors who share their embodied wisdom in how they redesigned a life for themselves beyond society standards to create their own heaven on earth. And I am one of the authors in that book. And what inspired me to be here today is that I'm going to read the chapter that I contributed to that book out loud for everyone. And I want to also share that this book is really unique because beyond each author's contribution in their individual chapters, there is also a body of 9 that is included in this book. And there is a specific paragraph in regard to the body of 9 that has been contributed for each and every author by Susan and Martin Fisher. And so before I start reading my chapter for you today, I want to share exactly what the body of 9 is and the paragraph that Susan and Martin wrote for me in relation to the chapter I contributed, and then I'll get started with the reading. Oh, hey, Nikki, it's so awesome to see you. Thank you so much. And anyone else who's on, please feel free to say hello. And before we get started, I'd like to just take a moment. Whoever's watching, just go ahead and allow yourself to be present to receiving what I'm sharing with you today, and log out of all your other screens, set your devices aside, and just allow yourself to really ground into this moment and set an intention to just really be present and open to receive, because nothing happens at random, and there's a reason why you're here with me live today, or there's a reason why you're listening to the replay. So before I get started in reading my chapter, I just want to let everyone know all comments and questions are welcome, but I'm not going to acknowledge comments or answer questions until the end. So just want you to know, feel free to comment or post questions, and I'll address all of those at the end, okay? So first, I really want to share with you what the concept of the body of 9 is, and I just need a moment to pull this up on my Kindle. So again, the book is Sacred Redesign, and it's available now on Amazon via Kindle. So whichever country you're in, just go to your Amazon site and the book is available there, and I will be sure to include a link in the comments at the end as well. Right now, only the Kindle version is available, but the paperback will be available in the next few days. And if you want to be notified of that, just be sure to comment, and then I'll circle back with you, okay? So here we go. Oh, hello, LinkedIn user. Thank you so much. You're popping up as LinkedIn user, so let me know who it is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone again for being here and for witnessing me today. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Okay, here we go. So I first want to share the concept of the body of nine and the contribution that was made by Susan and Martin in their assessment of my natural number, which is number 8. So the body of nine offers a context, a comprehensive body-based process to better understand ourselves. We're continually informed by our physical bodies through 9 distinct regions in the body that directly impact the way we experience our lives. We're each born with one of the 9 regions activated at birth. This active region is what we at Body of Nine call your natural number. Based on that active region, the body develops and presents distinct physical and spiritual characteristics, specifically in posture, movement, and structure, using specific muscles, bones, and fascia, and an energetic signature and purpose as well. These innate characteristics, which are governed by nature rather than nurture, directly determine how we relate to ourselves and others. Sacred Redesign is the first book of its kind, where all of the author's natural numbers have been identified and their wisdom presented in the context of their body and the corresponding purpose, skills, and gifts. In context, the wisdom of each natural number is easier to understand and receive. Together as a whole, they make more sense, each natural number contributing a pearl of important wisdom. Each natural number, when active, offers something entirely different from the others. There are 9 total numbers. And you can learn all about the detail around the numbers when you purchase the book, which is in the forward section of the book in Kindle. I'm going to share my natural number, which is 8, and then the insight from the authors. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. So I'm a natural number 8. And natural number 8 guides us to move forward together to create with consideration and integrity for the benefit of all, aligning the body with the physical source of creation, the earth. They draw energy into their body. Their body guides them to create an atmosphere ripe for growth. Jennifer Spore's story is one of resilience. Jennifer uses her natural number 8 power and ability to get things done, to get through tough circumstances over and over again. She overcomes abuse, addiction, and despair by continually finding the strength within her. She is straightforward, learns to hold boundaries despite the challenges of not being able to protect herself as a child. She comes through by drawing on her natural abilities to succeed in the world by the external definition. Then through those life lessons, finds her unique power and ability within herself to follow her own path. When I decided to collaborate as part of this book project, that was my first experience with the Body of Nine. I highly recommend learning more about this, to learn more about what your natural number is. And again, you can learn more about that in the foreword of this book. So now I'm going to locate my chapter and we'll get started. Okay. For the better part of my current life, I've believed in destiny. That is, that fate is what you're born into, but destiny is how you choose to shape your circumstances. I say better part because up until I was 16, that wasn't the case. Up until then, I would describe my childhood as a collection of fragmented memories. Years of abuse, sexually, emotionally, physically, and mentally, were suppressed at a conscious level that served as a coping mechanism to survive. It wouldn't be until much later in my life that many of those memories would come back into my awareness to be healed and crystallized into wisdom, equipping me for the work that I'm doing now. I have memories of abuse as far back as infancy. The earliest memory is of my biological father picking me up by my neck and swinging me around a room. I must have been under a year old, and I only know that because my mom took me and left him when I was around 1, never to see him again. She was also pregnant at the time with my sister, who she would give up for adoption at birth. My mom could never really tell me much about this time, as I sensed that she had a lot of suppressed, unhealed trauma. But I had a knowing that she had to have wanted my sister to have a better life than what she felt she could provide. My mom and I were on our own for a few years until she met my younger sister's father when I was 4 or 5. Many of the memories I have from that time were of feeling alone, as even when my mom was with me, it didn't really feel like she was with me. She eventually remarried, and my younger sister came into the world when I was 6. Just a couple months after my sister was born, my stepfather committed suicide. That in of itself is a story, but suffice to say, after that, my mom became even more checked out. My mom was never doting, but even as a young child, I could sense she lost part of her soul that night. Fast forward a few years later, I was 11, and that's when things at home started escalating. I began to push back with my mom because I was often home alone caring for my 5-year-old sister, and I resented her for not being around. And when she wasn't mentally or emotionally available. Being with her was unpredictable. Some days she would call me names, tell me she wished I'd never been born, physically restrain me, or throw things at me. My solution for this was running away and turning to alcohol to numb out when I was 12. I was in and out of my mom's house until I was 14. I was living with a friend at the time and we weren't getting along. I was home alone in her house a lot, and that combined with the trauma I'd experienced up to that point, along with the alcohol abuse, led me to a very dark place. At 14, I tried to take my own life. I spent a month in a children's psych ward and then landed back at home with my mom. I pleaded with the therapist at that time. I pleaded with the therapist at that time not to make me leave with her. I'd felt my cry for help fell on deaf ears. 2 more years of living at home would pass, and during that time, I attribute my survival to being out of the home as much as possible. Often, I would be working or looking for other excuses to be away from home until one day I snapped. I confided in relatives asking if I could come and live with them, but they said no. So I waited until my mom left the home one morning, packed up as many of my things that I could take with me, and left to live in another town. I didn't tell her where I was, and I never went back. That was the day I made a decision that I was going to survive and that I wanted more for my life. I made a decision that I would shape my own destiny. Over the next 2 years, I worked full-time to support myself. Despite my newfound independence, I was still drinking a lot, and experimenting with drugs to numb the pain from the unhealed trauma. When I was 18, I felt like I needed a fresh start, so I moved to Seattle. I started out working a few different jobs, and then at 19 years old, I landed in retail. A few months later, I had a conversation with myself that would change the trajectory of my life. As far back as I could remember, I'd always wanted to be a teacher. I thought about what would be required to pursue a path in the traditional academic space, financially supporting myself, paying for college, etc. Then I reflected on where I was in my current job. I already really loved what I was doing in retail, and I decided that I was committed to creating a career in that industry. I was on a mission. By the time I was 21, I was already managing stores. At 26, I went to work for a company that would recognize my potential, and I would eventually climb the ladder to assume a corporate director role at 32, overseeing store operations in over 1,200 locations. I was the youngest director in my department then, and female. Back then, that was a big accomplishment in an environment that was still very much a good old boys club at that time. For many years, I loved my career. What I loved the most was having the ability to create an impact for other people on such a large scale, to make a real difference in the lives of employees and customers. Despite how much I loved my career in retail, it also demanded a lot of my energy, attention, and time. Over time, it felt more difficult to make a difference amidst a growing company with growing bureaucracy, and I fell out of love with my career. Like so many others, if I believed I checked all the boxes off of what traditional society programs us to believe it means to achieve success, then I would be happy and fulfilled. Despite everything I'd overcome and accomplished in my life up to that point, I wasn't happy or fulfilled. I was actually exhausted, burned out, and I felt like an empty shell of a person. I was living in the illusion that if I acquired all the things and that if others thought I was successful, then I would be healed and that I would be whole. That was when the fog started to lift. That was the moment I started waking up. Spiritual awakenings can happen instantaneously, but the awakening often unfolds over time because we as humans are also programmed to fear change, so we resist. Despite my realization about no longer wanting to be where I thought I would be until I retired, I took zero action. Almost 2 more years would go by until I finally took action. I allowed my fear of change to cripple me mentally and emotionally. My unhealed trauma earlier in my life contributed greatly to that. I constantly worried about my ability to find another job such as the one I had without a college degree and making as much as I was at the time. I didn't feel good enough. Another illusion I was living in. My catalyst for taking action was my mom. Yes, you're hearing that right. We were estranged for years until my 20s. I didn't actually reconnect with her even then, but my sister kept in touch with her and would share where she was and what she was up to. The first time I saw my mom, she was living in a motel. She'd lost a lot of weight and she didn't seem fully mentally present. I remember asking her if she wanted a soda from the vending machine. When she said yes, I walked around the corner and I broke down in tears. I was crying for the unhealed child in me who had just seen her mother for the first time in so many years. And I was crying for my mom who looked so malnourished and unwell. It was clear she had experienced some type of mental break. I would later find out that she was diagnosed with a mental illness. That, coupled with her own unhealed trauma, would explain so much of what I'd experienced with her as a child. From that moment on, my journey to forgiveness and healing began, and we would keep in touch. It wasn't witnessing my mom in the state that she was in that propelled me into action to leave my career. It was a few years later, after she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, that I reached my breaking point. During that time, I was traveling back and forth from the East Coast to the Northwest to be with my mom and my family as much as possible. Just days before my mom transitioned, I was at her bedside and my phone was blowing up. There was an issue at work that, in the realm of everything, wasn't the most important thing at the time, and the issue could have been prevented, like so many other fires that I had to put out in my director role. I was being faced with the decision of directing my attention toward this issue or being present for my mom, who was dying. It was in that moment that I broke. I made the decision that I would no longer allow myself to be stuck in my own life and that I was taking my power back. That was the beginning of the end of my career in retail. In that moment, my courage exceeded my fear, and I vowed to myself to create a life on my own terms where I was happy, fulfilled, and free. After my mom died, I wanted to be closer to my family in Idaho. Much like the storyline of a country song, I rented my house in New Jersey, packed up my car, and headed out west. After all of what I'd realized and this awakening I was experiencing, I was still living in denial. At first, when I moved, I thought finding a new job would solve my problem with feeling stagnant in my career. Wrong. God has a way of redirecting us. I'd aced several interviews with some well-known retail companies, positions that I was a shoo-in for. In each instance, there would be a strange reason why the position didn't work out. One time, I was even interviewed by a company 6 times, flown out to meet their team, and the opportunity still fell through. It was after that I finally realized I wasn't meant to continue the work I was doing, and that put me in a place of reflection about what could be next. It was this time of reflection that led me to the decision to create a whole new path as an entrepreneur. Throughout my journey of awakening to my spiritual path and all of the life transitions I was experiencing, I invested in spiritual teachers, readings, therapy, healers, and business coaches, but there wasn't anyone I could find that could support me in bringing it all together to integrate who I was becoming into my physical reality. This is what led me to realize my purpose and the mission I'm meant to fulfill, supporting others in aligning with their highest path. Today, I live my purpose and mission through my business as an Akashic Records channel, soul-led business mentor, and strategist for high-achieving spiritual leaders who are feeling called to step into their next level of expansion in their purpose and mission. Spiritual leaders aren't just in the personal development industry. There are healers, visionaries, teachers, coaches, and creatives in every industry, and those yet to be known to us. Innovators who know they are answering a higher calling and forging a new path for others to follow. We are living in a time where many are being guided to birth new creations that support our evolution. Listening and taking action on the purpose and mission that God has placed in your heart is an absolute necessity for navigating the path forward. If you are watching this right now, there is a reason. You know you're meant for more. Your soul is bringing forward the next level you to be expressed. Whether you're newly discovering your purpose and mission, or you're being called to step into the next level of your evolution, the time is now. I know. Intellectually understanding this, feeling called, and integrating that into your physical reality can feel easier said than done. Here is how you can move forward. 1. Drop into your heart space for reflection and decision making. The heart is the intersection of the spiritual and physical. It is where your soul's guidance resides. The mind is a faithful servant, but it will always make decisions based on what it knows from conditioning and past experience. Therefore, it will always keep you where you are. Your soul will always guide you toward expansion, which is often an unknown path, but the most aligned path for your growth. 2, get clear on your values, strengths, gifts, and what brings you the most joy. Even if you've done this in the past, it can change over time. Your journey here is an evolution. Your purpose and the mission you're here to fulfill will include all of these and provide clarity on your path forward. 3, set clear intentions. Visualize your path to the extent that you can see and feel what it's like to embody the version of yourself who is living your highest purpose and mission. 4, create a strategy that supports the manifestation of your vision. Decide when you want to realize your vision and create a plan that backs into that time frame. 5, take aligned action. Your strategy, how you spend your time, the actions you take, relationships, and mindset all need to align with your vision for the most direct path to achieve what you desire. 6, invest in support. Your journey is evolutionary, and you only know what you know. You may be able to figure things out on your own eventually, but having objective support will help you achieve your goals a lot faster. We all have blind spots, and having the support of someone who has experienced and achieved where you want to be is absolutely priceless. More than anything, believe in yourself and leap forward in faith. You wouldn't feel a calling or have a vision in your heart that you aren't already fully equipped to achieve. You already have the answers. It's time to remember to create space for the ancient wisdom already within you to come forward to be expressed. Let go of who you were so that you can surrender to who you're meant to be. You've been training for this for lifetimes. You are here to create heaven on earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for witnessing me today in sharing this chapter from the beautiful book, Sacred Redesign, which is available now via Kindle on Amazon for just 99 cents. And the proceeds from this book all go to a charity for support of clean water. So if you're feeling guided, I highly encourage you to purchase this extremely inspirational book, this very, very special co-creation. And if you're feeling called to receive a deeper level of support to create your heaven on earth, feel free to reach out to me and we can connect for a chat. Thank you again.